Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Keeping Communities Warm and Tackling Fuel Poverty. I'm Emma Good, I'm the Cost of Living Crisis Project Manager at One Voice Wales, and I'll be hosting the session this afternoon. I'm joined by my colleagues Angela and Vanessa. Just a quick reminder, this is a Zoom webinar, so microphones and cameras are disabled, and that allows us to have multiple guest speakers. There will be opportunities as usual for questions, and the way that you can ask them is via the Q&A box, via the chat function, or raising your virtual Zoom hand, and we will be able to enable your microphone, and all these functions can be accessed from your Zoom controls at the bottom of your screen. If you're experiencing any technical problems, do let us know and we'll try and assist. So just to introduce our topic today, we're looking at fuel poverty, and as energy costs have continued to rise, many households in our communities are struggling to stay warm and healthy. So in this session, we hope to explore practical ways that councils can support residents facing fuel poverty. We're going to hear some insights from Warm Wales and learn from two councils who have successfully implemented warm hubs in their communities. And fuel poverty remains a pressing and escalating issue in Wales. A household is considered to be in fuel poverty if it needs to spend more than 10% of its income on energy bills to maintain an adequate standard of warmth. And in Wales, that appears to be over 14% of households that are unable to afford adequate heating. Fuel poverty is most acute among vulnerable groups such as older adults, single-parent families, and residents in rural communities. The primary causes are a combination of low household income, high energy prices, and Wales's older energy-efficient housing stock, which often fails to meet modern insulation and heating standards. So what are the consequences of fuel poverty? Well, they remain widespread, and prolonged exposure to inadequately heated homes can lead to respiratory problems such as asthma and COPD. And stress associated with cold living environments causes all kinds of mental health challenges, particularly among children and caregivers. Fuel poverty creates social isolation, as families may feel reluctant to invite visitors into their homes. And these challenges all place additional pressures on public health and social services, and households just face higher energy bills due to these inefficiencies. However, local solutions can offer hope. Community and town councils in Wales can drive meaningful change by being involved in initiatives and working in partnership with organisations to provide that real local practical support. Programmes such as the Welsh Government's Nest schemes have already made strides in improving home insulation and heating efficiency, delivering significant cost savings for households. Additionally, community-led warm spaces and hubs as seen in many of our communities delivered by councils throughout Wales, provide that immediate relief by offering heated spaces where residents can stay comfortable and access essential resources, as well as fostering important community connections. So we're fortunate today to be joined by several guest speakers. We'll be hearing firstly from Joanna Seymour from Warm Hub Wales, who will give us a presentation on the role they play in helping those struggling with fuel poverty. Sadie Clark from Prestatyn Town Council, who have had huge success with their Warm Hub initiative. And we hope to be also joined by Leanne Cloyd-Tolman from Cabran Community Council, who also run a Warm Hub for their community. So firstly, I'll hand over to Joanna Seymour from Warm Hub Wales. Bore da, Joanna.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, and thanks very much for the invite to be able to sort of provide details of the support that we provide as an organisation, but also look at those opportunities of how you can link and work with us going forwards. So I'm just going to share my screen. Wow. Can you see the presentation? Yeah, brilliant, thanks. Okay, brilliant. So I'm Joanna Seymour. I'm Director of Partnerships and Development and I work for Warm Wales, and I'm joined as well by Alid, who is our Senior Engagement Officer. And as I go through the presentation, you'll see how the engagement team come into the sort of support that we provide as an organisation. So Warm Wales is a community interest organisation, and we cover the whole of Wales. So our support is available to everyone that lives in Wales. So again, Emma's already gone through some of the stats to do with why our organisation sort of exists and what it is that we're trying to do. Obviously, you can see the information and the stats on the presentation. But I think the biggest thing to look at now is not just looking at those individuals who are in fuel to keep their homes warm. It's actually now looking at the impact from a children perspective, and looking at and seeing that 31% of children in Wales live in, as in sort of what's classed as a poor household, meaning that they are struggling with their basic needs. So to be able to access, as in sort of what their basic needs are from a food perspective, having warm, safe accommodation. And recent information received by Citizens Advice show that one in four parents, representing around 6.9 million households, so this is across the whole of the UK, fear that they may be forced to turn their heating and hot water off this winter. So obviously it's really, really important to be able to share the support that we can provide as an organisation and others to make sure that people aren't struggling and missing out. So our aim is to provide homes with affordable warmth and to alleviate fuel across the country. And our mission is to empower people to make the right choices and decisions for themselves to enable them to alleviate fuel poverty and become more resilient. And I know it's a bit of a cliche to say this, but it's all about working with those individuals to work out how they can deal with and make changes going forward. We know that some people are in crisis and we need to provide a lot more support, whereas there's other individuals that just need to be pointed in the right direction of how they support themselves. And we can provide all of that going forward. So I always talk about the support that we provide as an organisation, but actually to do with fuel poverty, to do with poverty, to do with keeping warm, is that it starts with the home. And that's where all of this starts, is that we need to be able to have a safe, sound, warm, affordable home to be able to make sure that everything else functions as it needs to. And you can see on the screen, we've got Maslow's obviously looks at making sure that our basic needs are met first before we can move through anything else. And obviously housing and looking at the environment around us is part of social determinants of health. And the World Health Organization says that a dwelling is the physical structure and the home is the social, cultural and economic structure created by the individual or the household. So what we do is we really do look and identify what the root causes are so that we're able to provide support and improve people's health and well-being. So we focus on the individual, we provide a wraparound support. So what we've done as an organisation is that we have brought together energy advice with caseworker support. So that looks at the moment very much about identifying and dealing with debt. So we know as an organisation there's so much sort of debt and issues to work with. If it becomes too much, obviously we refer that on to a specific and specialist organisation that deals with debts from a financial regulation perspective. So when we look at debt, we talk about if somebody's struggling with their energy bills or they're struggling with their water bills. If they've got multiple, that's where you have to pass it on, because obviously you need to then be able to identify which bill you need to take first. We look at educating people, we look at behaviour change, and we link it in with wider social prescribing and well-being, trying to improve people's health outcomes by tackling the root causes. So we're linking the health, their well-being and early intervention to be able to stop things from getting to crisis point. So as I said, we look at the people, the individual, we look at the property, we look at where they're living from a community perspective. But the biggest thing that we do as an organisation is we work in partnership. We want to be able to work together. We know as an organisation, we don't have all of the answers. So we want to be able to make sure that we bring everyone together to provide that support for the individual and for that wider community. So what do we actually do? So what we've tried to do is we tried to simplify things. So what we tried to do is we tried to look at sort of themes of work where everything then stems from. So what we've done is we've broken it down to looking at affordable warmth and energy efficiency, Our community-based support, so that's being able to look at the community and provide that wider support. Our community engagement, which means that we're actually taking support out into the community. We are not expecting everybody in the community to come to us. We want to be able to take our support out into the community. And this is an area that we want to be able to expand on. And this is something that we want to be able to take out, identify, work with local authorities, work with community organisations to be able to link up to provide that support and the awareness raising out in the communities. And then we then look at our health and our prevention work. So this is specifically looking at how link in more from a health perspective, from a social care perspective, to again take it right back to the home to make sure that that is warm, it's safe, it's affordable, and linking everything together. So when we say affordable warmth and energy efficiency, and obviously it was mentioned before about Nest and about the Welsh Government's Warm Homes programme, we can make referrals into Nest. And obviously we don't just look at those referrals from a Nest perspective. We do work with a number of other local authorities across at the moment to provide their EcoFlex. We manage the EcoFlex side, and that's funding through the energy company's obligation. So what you've got again is you're looking at making sure that we are improving the energy efficiency of some of the, as in some of the properties in Wales. We know that we've got, as in sort of the oldest stock, we've got a lot of stock that's difficult to treat from an affordable warmth perspective. So it's trying to make sure we can bring that funding in from a property perspective. And then we move on to that community-based support. So that's then looking at how we can actually deal with fuel debt. We can look at energy advice. We can look at maximising income. We can look at water support, working closely with Welsh Water and having done with regards to what support we can provide from a social tariff perspective. We look at bringing in other funding. We look at warm homes discount, pension credit, and then we then look at basic needs. So a big thing at the moment that we're able to do is that if people are in crisis, we're able to apply through the Fuel Bank Foundation for gas and electric top-ups, and also access the heat fund for solid fuel for oil and LPG. So again, we're trying to make sure that the crisis is supported, but we then want to make sure that we are then getting that individual out of crisis in order to work out how we can then make sure that energy is affordable going through. Whether or not that's then providing three-way telephone calls with the energy provider. So basically the team spend a lot of time on hold, which is quite a lot of the stressful element for an individual. We wait on hold with the energy provider. We then facilitate that conversation with the energy provider and the resident to be able to make sure that we can look at an affordable payment plan. Because unfortunately at the moment, and this is the key thing, is that at the moment, energy is unaffordable for so many people. So this is the usage going forward. So this is just paying for what you're using going forward. As a result of that, people have been able to afford to pay for what they have previously used. So that's then going as debt. So what we're spending a lot of time doing is looking at how do we come up with an affordable payment plan for the debt and also for the usage going forward. And that's why we want as many people and organisations as possible to know that we can facilitate conversations with energy providers to make this better so that people have got heating going into the winter, that they're not having to not to heat or eat. So that's one big key message that I want everyone to take away from this, is that there is advice and support available to look at being able to make sure people keep their heating on. And again, when we then look at the community engagement, lots of what we're trying to do is to make people more aware of what they can do to help themselves, but also where to go to. So we go to lots of events, we go to lots of drop-ins. We want to make sure that we can link in. It's only a small, but we want to be able to make sure that we're reaching areas that maybe we haven't reached before. So again, that's another thing to take away, and hence the reason why Alid is on this call, is that we want to be able to connect up as much as we can. Referrals are really easy. We've been lucky that we've been able to get some funding from Wales and West Utilities for one of the biggest projects to be able to provide that support across the whole of Wales. So what we've set up is we set up a central hub team. This is where all of the referrals come in. So there is one telephone number, one referral form to make it as easy as possible, knowing that not everyone is on digital, they've got website, we want to make sure that it's a telephone number as well as being able to go through the internet. We have our delivery team, so they're able to provide that advice and support either over the phone or they can go out and do visits. And then we have our engagement team. So this is what we've set up. We have funding until the end of March 2026, and we want to be able to make sure that we link in and we reach as many people as possible. So from a local authority perspective, we do work with a number of local authorities to get those direct referrals. But again, what we want to be able to do as a result of this call is to make sure that every single local authority that is on that phone reaches out to myself as the Director of Partnership and Development to look at how we can work more closely together. So it's available to everybody anyway, but we want to be able to see on an individual basis, what can we do in order to help meet the needs of your audience. Again, our service is person-centered. It is all about the individual. We want to have that conversation with them. We want to be able to find out everything that's going on. We know we don't have the answers for everything, but we want it to be, they tell us, we can then find out where we need to go to get help. One thing that we try and do to make sure we're able to demonstrate that we're actually having an impact is that we collect basic well-being using the Office's National Statistics personal well-being scores. So we look at before and after. So there is a comparison between looking at their well-being and their anxiety before and after. So as well as everything else that we do, we also want to make sure that we've improved their well-being and reduced their anxiety levels. Just a quick little bit of stats, because again, data is really, really important. And I know data is important, especially to lots of local authorities and others to see the impact of what we're doing. So since April this year, we have supported and received nearly 5,000 referrals, and that's then broken down to just over 5,000 residents, which again, looking at the split between adults and children, that means that we've supported nearly 2,000 children. So again, when we go back to that stat, so 31% of children across the UK that are in poverty, we're then trying to make sure that we're supporting children as well. So obviously the impact of the sport, as in is for everybody within that household. Since April, we have saved about £1.4 million. So this is actual savings for individuals. On top of that, we do record our social value. So we then have the social value savings. The savings from an actual works out at this moment in time about £290 per household. So there are savings there that have been made. And when you look at the number of interventions, so this is all of the support that's provided, so it's on multiple levels, but nearly 8,000 interventions that have been provided. Those interventions, like I said, look at the crisis element of it. So we're looking at those fuel vouchers, but we're also providing energy advice. We're also looking at maximising their income, signing people up to the priority services register, talking about carbon monoxide and making sure that things are checked as they needed to be. So the interventions that we provide are varied. And I think that's, again, what we're trying to demonstrate as this, is that it's not all us. We work in partnership with lots of organisations as well, a lot of things that we do, and that we want to be able to be that sort of central referral route to be able to then bring in other services and to link things up. And again, nearly finished. So when I was talking about the well-being side, so currently at the moment, we've seen a 70% improvement from an overall well-being perspective in the people that we've supported since April. And we've seen a reduction. So 68% have said that they've seen a reduction in their anxiety levels. So again, on a really, really quick sort of scale, we can see that what we're doing is making a difference. And as I said, to be able to get in contact, we've got our free telephone number, and this is available for everybody. So we take self-referrals, we also take referrals on behalf of, and our sort of number of referrals we get, a lot of people are referring on themselves into, and that's what we want. Again, this isn't something that is just for people who, would be classed as, in fuel poverty. This is for people at the moment just wanting to know how can they reduce their energy bills. So we're not trying to stigmatise it. It's just, do you want some support to reduce your energy bills? If you do, get in contact with us. And the level of support that we can provide is then on a sort of scale. Those people that need a lot of hand holding and those people that just need a slight direction as where they need to go to. We've got a referral portal. So again, very, very simple referral form that can be completed. And then obviously the QR code. What I have sent is I have sent these slides so they can be shared. I've sent 2 flyers as well. Again, they can be shared. And then if people want more access to those flyers, again, they can be printed off, or we can arrange to get some to be sent out. Thank you very much. Has anyone got any questions?
Thanks, Joanna. I'll just see if any questions come through, but that was a really comprehensive presentation. So thanks for that. Anybody got any questions for Joanna? You've obviously done such a good job. Maybe I can just ask really, what's the best way if councils want to collaborate with you for them to do that? So we're talking about town and community councils now, not local authorities. So we've been working with councils to support them around advice about warm hubs and that kind of thing, and providing services within those warm hubs. So if they want to work more collaboratively with you around something like that, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I think, and that's what we're, as I'm trying to do is to reach out to me in the first instance, because what I want to be able to do is to look at this, as in from a partnership perspective, and then work out, as in to how then sort of spread that out from an engagement team. So from an engagement perspective, is they do an absolutely fantastic job because they take everything out, but there is only a few of them. So what we want to be able to do is to be able to link up to work out how best is it we need to have a presence there. Is it that we can provide some awareness training to the town councils themselves so they're better prepared? And then obviously it's also to provide leaflets and flyers, to put a big poster up so people know how to get in contact with us. It's the reason why we've made our referral process as simple as it can be: referral form or free phone telephone number. So again, we're trying to make the access as easy as we can. And I think the question that popped up there, I'll include that. I think it was to do with, as in sort of how people feel. It's the reason why we've tried to change our service is that if anyone's struggling or finding their energy bills a bit, as in they're really expensive, because we all know, number one, if you're paying by direct debit, the energy providers just keep increasing the direct debit. But actually, you can turn around and say, I'm not paying that. I don't need to pay that. Stop increasing it. So again, we're trying to make sure that it's for everybody. Everyone knows what they can do to either control it themselves if they're able to, or if they need a little bit more help, we can then help them with that. So we want this support to be available to everybody. It is available to everybody, because the energy bills are going up and up and up and up for everybody. So we're all starting to feel it. Some people are feeling it more. So this isn't now, as in a service that is only available to so and so who, as in there. This is for everybody to find out actually what they can do to save money on their energy bills. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that we can be sharing, is just how to save money on your energy bills. That's it. That's the message that we can share. And I think everybody will probably want to take everybody up on that offer.
Randall Thomas Turner, just your microphone is enabled if you want to ask a question.
Thank you very much. Afternoon, everybody. So my question to you is, Hafford West Town Council, the council I sit on, we're actually implementing a 6-month feed the community initiative. What you're talking about is something really up our alley, and I'm really interested in reaching out to your engagement team and wondering if you guys would be able to come down in the next 3 months that we have it. We have one now this week on tomorrow, and what we're finding is, build it and they will come. But any support or advice that you could give us going forward, that would be great. We're hoping to trial this for 6 months, see where we are, and then apply it again next October 25 till March 26, as we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's definitely something, as in that we want to be able to link in with. And, as in from an engagement perspective, that's what we're trying to get to, is that as an organisation, as in because of COVID, we pulled everything back, but we've realised that now afterwards we need to go back out and we need to work out where to be and where's the best place to be. So, as in I think if there's a chat or something, I can put my details in. So just email me and then I can then link it up and work out the best way to take this forward, and how we can have a presence at, as in sort of the events that you've got going forward.
That's perfect. We can drop your details in the chat, Joanna, and otherwise we'll share them after the webinar concludes anyway. There's also Mike Cuddy has his hand raised. So
how will a town council or community council know about the initiatives in their area, which you may have been engaged in?
Well, the support that we provide, I think that's the thing, is that because what we've done is that we have moved away from working on an individual basis. So, you know, as in, I'm based up in North Wales, so is Aled. So to do with obviously the support is that it was, and it did start from a North Wales perspective and very sort of on a local level. But obviously now what we've been able to do is we've been able to get funding so that we can provide the support across the whole of Wales. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to say, and to come to, you know, as in, you know, events like this, to be able to say it is available in your area. So anybody and everybody refer in, and if there's specific things happening, reach out, either by the individual email. So there's an information at Warm Wales email address to say this is what's happening, would somebody be able to attend, or I will put my details in the chat and then you can then link in with me in, you know, as in directly, and we can work out what we can do together. So we've tried to say, rather than it now being just on a local or regional perspective, is we've tried to say this is now a national, you know, as in sort of support that is available for everybody. So we've tried to move it away, hence the reason why we're here trying to promote it as much as we can, especially for this winter.
I think that's it for questions. We did have a comment from Suzanne Aldcroft in the chat. Community councils in Wrexham make use of their community agents who support residents, mainly over 50s in the local community, and community agents are very conversant with referrals to Warm Wales. So
Yeah, we get, and I think that's the thing, which we're again, you know, it demonstrates that, you know, as in when we first started this, we worked very, very closely. I remember, you know, as in sort of going out and doing a number of visits, you know, as in with the community agents, and, you know, again, going to events to talk about what we do. So we do work very closely, and I think that's the thing, that is an example of how it does work. So working in partnership. So we're not saying that town councils have to change, you know, as in what they're already doing. It's just saying we're here to help if and when you need us. And I think that is the biggest thing about what we're trying to say. We're not here to replace or to, you know, duplicate what is happening. We are part of that jigsaw. And we want to be able to make sure that as many town councils know about what is available, you know, as in especially now for this winter, with some funding that is, you know, has been removed and will be removed going forward.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks, Joanna. I think that's it on questions. So we're really grateful for your attendance and your presentation. That's brilliant. If you could drop your details in the chat, that would be helpful. And again, we'll share them with everyone after the webinar is over. But happy for you to stay if you want to, or if you're busy and you need to leave, then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, thanks very much. Thanks.
I'll stay for a little bit longer than I might.
That's great.
Out, yeah, thanks very much for the invite.
Yeah, and to Aled as well. Thanks, Aled. Brilliant. So next I want to introduce Sadie Clark from Prestatyn Town Council. We've worked closely with at One Voice Wales with Prestatyn Town Council around their Warm Hubs initiative, as it's a real kind of beacon of good practice. So Sadie's been good enough to join us this morning and tell us a little bit about the Warm Hubs initiative at Prestatyn. So hi Sadie.
Hello, thanks for the invite.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the Warm Hubs, the Prestatyn and Melodin Warm Hub Initiative was created to target residents who may be daunted and face challenging times in funding the cost of heating in their own homes throughout the day. So we offered respite and encouraged well-being and social interaction in our Warm Hubs. Residents attended, we gave them a warm welcome, and with the help of volunteers, we served soup and a roll, tea or coffee, and sometimes cake. We have helped people overcome their anxieties in visiting the venues by providing warm and welcome surroundings with external organisations offering help and advice, such as the Benefits Advice Shop, who offered advice on social security benefits, universal credit, overpayments, disability benefits, housing benefits and council tax reduction. We also had community support services, Dear Cymru, Warm Wales, Work in Denbighshire visit the venues offering advice. We had games donated and other social activities led by volunteers such as crafts, card making and drawing. We promoted on social media, and for those with no access to social media, we put flyers out on all our notice boards across the wards of Prestatyn and Melodin. We flyer dropped and spread the word of DCC local authority and health board officers, local charities, voluntary groups, community centres and local shop counters. The Prestatyn and Melodin Warm Hub Initiative started in November 22, which was to be a pilot for 6 weeks. However, it was that successful, we identified the need to continue the sessions until February 22. There are 6 wards in Prestatyn and Melodin, so we had a warm hub in each ward with set days and times for the week. The numbers we served November, December 22, January and February 23 were 1,352. In December 23, January 24, Feb and March 24, 3,117. We've just started now November 24, so just done 4 weeks of it, and we've had 413 through the door already. We're running the warm hub this year from November to January, but hopefully extending to March if funds allow. So the cost that we've incurred 22-23 was, for the period, £13,725. For 23-24, it was 16,362. And this year so far, 24-25, it'll be 3,061. So the grants received, we've got some grants. The Welsh Government made £1 million available across Wales to support warm welcome, warm hubs type projects to support people at risk of fuel poverty in winter 2022. Denbighshire Voluntary Service Council worked with Denbighshire County Council to distribute the share for Denbighshire. So Prestatyn and Melodin is under Denbighshire. We've been lucky to receive 3 lots of money from DVSC since 2022 to go towards our warm hubs. So in 2022 to 23, we had 3 grants agreed from DVSC for £12,017. For 23-24, we had DCC Levelling Up, which was £10,000. This year, 24, we've had DVSC, we've had Tesco and DCC Cost of Living Grant, and the total for those is 7,750. This year, we've gone out as well asking for donations. We've had donations from Sainsbury's and the Spa, which are linked to the Blakemore Trust. So this year only, it's £165 monetary value, but they've donated food, soup, roll, milk, coffee, tea, and so on. We've reduced the costs this year in our chambers, where we have it here in Prestatyn Town Council offices, because we did get an outside caterer do it last year. But this year we've got volunteers from Kim Aspire who come here and they serve the soup and a roll, and then they talk to the residents as well, and it's a lovely atmosphere. And with the savings from the caterer and then the donations of food, we've saved £1,140 just in the 4 weeks of it running. So we've only put in, usually we have 7 locations, but we've got 3 this year because of funding, lack of. 2 are running it themselves with their own funding that were in from 22-23 and last year. So hopefully if we've got enough funding after January, we'll run it till March and then include more locations. That's it, I think.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Sadie. I think it's really helpful to hear the numbers as well, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask for some questions, but what I thought I would do while people have a little think about the questions that they might like to ask is play the video case study that we made of your warm hub. So I'll just share that now for people to have a look at that, because it's a really good way to show what you guys have achieved.
I enjoy the community spirit. I enjoy coming along and speaking to different people, and enjoying a meal in the daytime. And sometimes it's really, you don't like to sit at home on your own if you're on your own. And to be honest, this type of thing helped me, along with food share as well. When my grandson was ill in hospital, it meant I could come and get a good meal, but I could concentrate on using money for fuel in my car, and I didn't have to worry about that. So I could talk to people as well about what was going on with my grandson. He was quite ill in hospital. He's happy now. He's good now. But it meant I could speak to people instead of keeping everything inside and getting too stressed out. So that's what I enjoy about this type of thing. Yeah.
So the community gets together, and it's communication and chatting, and well, you can see from how many's in the room, it's very, very popular and it's much needed. So this, we're very grateful that they're actually funding things like this. We're very lucky for Saturn that we are funding quite a lot for people over 60, because in other counties there's not an awful lot for people that are maybe over 50 or 60, or they live by themselves and are lonely. So this gets people together.
We come every week, and it's mainly just company, keep warm, a cup of tea, cup of coffee. We don't usually have anything to eat, do we? But it's just a nice place to come to meet lots of people, especially if you're on the house on your own, and with the weather being very cold, and that's the reason really we come.
Yeah, that's why I come, because I'm on my own, so I come and meet people and meet a lot of friends here.
Well, for the company and for the opportunity to be able to come out and meet lots and lots of people, and we will miss it very much if this ever did change or not.
Right, it's really good, isn't it, to actually hear the voices of the people who benefit from these services as well. I think it's hugely encouraging, and to get the feedback is amazing. So yeah, it's clear that it's not just the benefits of keeping warm, is it, but also solving those issues around social isolation and loneliness as well. So yeah.
Yes.
I know there's a question in the Q&A from Bethan Cross. How did you manage to get residents to come to these warm hub sessions? Leaflets do not appear to encourage some of those most in need to come.
It's been mainly word of mouth, and then somebody comes and then they tell their friends, tell their family, and we do go round on the high street and into the communities, and we do speak to the residents. So some of the locations, the venues, are community centres, so they have community groups, so they just talk about it. So mainly it's word of mouth.
Yeah, I think from some of the discussions we've had as well with councils who are running these sessions, is that they try not to call them warm hubs. They try to talk about what they're offering within the hub to avoid that kind of issue of people, the stigma of it, don't they? So, and also by encouraging and putting on other services, it becomes about that as opposed to the keeping warm. So I think from other councils alongside yours that we've spoken to, that's that's made a real difference.
Yeah, and we put like craft things down, and magazines, newspapers, so it's not just come there, eat your soup and drink your tea. It's they can interact with other people, and then play games with each other. So it's not just coming for food.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're collaborating with other organisations as well, because I know you've run sessions with Mind, haven't you, as well? They also then will sort of advertise these events, and so
yes, totally, yeah.
We've got a hand up as well. So Randall Thomas Turner, I think your mic is able to be unmuted now, Randall, if you want to do it.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My question to you is your overhead costs. So the one, are you running these? I know that you ran the initial one for 6 weeks. Are you running these weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, to occur those kind of costs? I'm only asking because, as stated before, we're running our own program down here, and I'm wanting
Yeah.
to make sure we're not going into any holes or anything. So is there anything that you can it takes a man to learn from his mistake. It takes a genius to learn from others. Is there any advice that you can give us going forward on this?
Okay, we run them, say for instance, we run them in different locations and they're on every week. So here on a Monday at Prestatyn Town Council offices, so November, we've had 4 Mondays in November. So they're here every Monday. We've got 3 Novembers in December. We close for the week between December and January. And then from January the 6th, we've got the 13th, 20th and 27th. So they're on every Monday here. So then Tuesday, they're at Diva Church every Tuesday. So it's once a week. It's at each location.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
We're 3 months into our 6 month initiative. Is there any advice that you can give half of West Town Council on bringing this forward to the caliber that you're at?
I just think I don't know what your attendance is like, but I think it's spreading the word mainly. And then there can be a stigma, but I don't think anyone who comes through the door now it feels intimidated or anything, because it's such a lovely warm welcome. And with the volunteers as well, they can talk to people at all levels. It's just the place to be on a Monday in Prestatyn, and to see their friends. And I know a lot of people that come here live on their own and they look forward to every Monday. So I think it's just spreading the word, really.
Did you find in December was more of a null? Our numbers right now was October was we had 27, November we had 50, believe 55 to 56. But we're thinking because it's Christmas time, we might have a lull. Did you guys find that, or did you find more people came Christmas and January time?
I think more people came Christmas and January because they're thinking about, oh, Christmas, maybe they have to get presents or, feel obliged to get presents for people and so on. So, you're more strapped for cash then, aren't you, around Christmas time? And then January is a long month. So yeah, we're busy all the periods that we're doing it, November, December, January, and even up to March. But yeah, December, January, there's no lull. It's the same.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
You're welcome.
Randall, may I ask which council you're from?
I am a local councillor from Hafford West Town Council. I represent Castle Ward.
So you've had good growth in your attendee numbers just from month to month, haven't you? Nearly double.
Yes. Yes, so we first started it as Feed the Ward. So our initiative is free everything. So free haircuts, free resources. We've collaborated with Specsavers. They do free MOTs for glasses, things like that. We've also got a catering service, Ben and Ellie Gobi, who are absolutely phenomenal. They're helping us as well. So the first one, me and my wife, who's also a counselor, we went off our own back. We the of the tune of 170 pound. It was £100 for the food, so it was £1 per person. That was the feeding cost, and then 70 for the actual venue itself. So the first one was very it was the validity was there. So we went to town council. Town council granted us funding of £850 to enact this for the additional 5 months. We were going to go off our own back and do it ourselves, but thank goodness town council saw what we're trying to do and came on board. So that was fantastic. So November was a good hit. We're having a lot of stakeholders interested as well. So the first one, I think we had around about 21 stakeholders. All the churches are involved with us as well, with the 10 churches around Hafford West area. So yeah, it's getting there. I had an email from Reverend Neil Hook stating that we have support of all the 10 churches from this, and I quote, from this pioneering experience. So yeah, we're on the right track. It's just sustain, it's easy to obtain, it's hard to maintain. So I think we're at the level right now where, you know, we've had two good ones. My fear is that, you know, we become unpopular. So I'm just trying to keep us you know, popular, and see if there's any notches or anything like that we can, you know, we can dodge, and to keep this service going.
That's great. It's great. It's great to hear about all the initiatives that are taking place. It sounds brilliant. Keep in touch, Randall, because you know, if you want us to connect you with other councils who are running initiatives, and to talk amongst yourselves about successes and how you can overcome barriers and that kind of thing, and how you maintain that momentum, then One Voice Wales really feels like we can be kind of an enabler in that respect. And also that we've got a Facebook group to I don't know whether you've joined that, which allows councils to talk directly to one another about their experiences around these kinds of issues. So it's good to make those connections. So thanks very much for your contribution. We've got a question in the chat, in the Q&A, from Matthew Cleave. Do you help with transport in any way?
We have done. We could get a slight dial-a-ride and get people from, you know, that's not so able, because they've got vehicles for wheelchairs and for assisted, I call them Zimmer frames. I don't know if that's the right term, but yeah, so we have had that with a request, but we don't do like a personal taxi service. But if they're all coming from one area, one nursing home, then we could arrange, yes.
Okay, thanks, Sadie. I know, Matthew, that we've got examples of other councils that do provide transport for their warm hubs, and that I think it's Bedlinog and True Lewis is a good example. They have had a warm hub for quite a while now, and they were finding that the attendance to that wasn't particularly brilliant, and it transpired that it was a transport issue. So they now have a minibus that sort of goes around and collects residents and takes them home. So there are other examples. So if you need to be connected with any other councils to sort of, you know, benefit from what they've done, we're happy to make those introductions. Yeah, if you want to pursue that. So that's great. Just checking if we've got any other questions or any hands raised. Where's my list gone? No, I think that's everything. Thanks, Sadie. It's great to
Thank you very much.
We know how busy you are and that you're a bit short-handed. So yeah, thanks for your contribution today. If you want to stay, you can, but if you need to get off, we understand.
I'll stay for a bit. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We were hoping to have Leanne, from a councillor from Cwmbran, with us this morning, but unfortunately she's had power problems. So she's hoping to join us later. So what I would like to do, if don't mind, is bring in our very own Vanessa Owens, who works on the cost of living project here at One Voice Wales, but is also the clerk at Aberporth Community Council. Hi, Vanessa. So it would be really, I think, really benefit from hearing about your experiences within your council and your area around warm hub provision. And I understand you've recently had some success applying for some warm hub funding.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Emma. So just to sort of put it into context, Aberporth is made up of 4 villages. We've got Aberporth, which is the main centre, and then we've got outlying villages of Partlin, Blaenanach and Blaenporth. Within Aberporth itself, we're a recognised area of poverty. We're a Flying Star area. We've got a lot of hidden poverty, because when people visit us as a coastal community, they see all of the nice holiday homes and the villages and the people that are retired. But behind that, we've got local authority housing. We've got a lot of families that are really struggling. So in partnership with our Village Hall committee, the Village Hall made an application, and we're really successful, and we've just reopened a new hall. We've had funding of 1.25 million, and we have a Heart of the Community project that is running from the Village Hall within Aberporth itself. That offers a warm space. We had Changing Places grant, and there's a lot of work and things going on there. As a community council, then, we recognised that people were actually having problems sort of accessing these services, actually getting on the bus and coming down into the village of Aberporth from the outlying villages. It's not on the main bus route. It tends to go straight through to the local town. So in Blaenporth, they actually opened their own little canolfan, their own little centre, which they run out of the local church. And we supported them with some funding and things to get themselves up on their feet. And they have been running a coffee morning there. And it's attended by about 30 residents. And it's just sort of grown in popularity. For a small village to have sort of 30 attending regularly every week is great. So when the Welsh Government gave the announcement the other day about the 1.5 million for warm hubs, as a community council we decided, right, let's just get an application put in, and we've been successful for £1,000. It was relatively straightforward for us because Carvo, our local CBC, they had the funding there. They sort of got it out really quickly. It was a simple Microsoft Word form to complete, submitted it, and within a couple of days they came back with a positive, great, thank you very much, and the money was in the bank within the week. So we are opening an extra day in the canolfan in Blaenporth, an afternoon we decided, so it would be sort of be the opposite to the morning coffee morning. It'll be an afternoon session once a week, running now till the end of March. So we were able to get it set up quite quickly because there was obviously a coffee morning set up there already. We already had a group of volunteers that were more than happy to do some extra for a short few months. Risk assessments were already in place. So we've been able to sort of get that up and running relatively quickly. We're currently got a questionnaire with them sort of asking what activities they might like to do, because we've got some extra funding towards sort of putting on maybe some bingo, some flower arranging. I'm not sure. We're waiting to sort of come back and see what ideas they've got. I think you know, they if they can contribute towards it and sort of put their ideas forward and what they'd like to do, they've sort of got a bit more of a buy-in, a bit more ownership of their sort of hub, being as they are sort of like a regular contingency that's sort of meeting there. They're really excited about being able to sort of come for an extra afternoon. I think it'll make a huge difference to them from a social and isolation point, even if it's not about it being energy efficiency. But I think that there's sort of like that's an extra element to it as well, in that they've got somewhere to come, somewhere to socialise, hot food, warm drink, and cup of tea, company, and some activities. And yeah, I think it's one of the highlights of sort of the work that we do as a community council in Aberporth. I think providing these services, we've recognised that there's more demand for them, and I think we, you know, what the services that we're providing is welcomed. The feedback is all really good, and yeah, I think we actually had a meeting last night and we're looking at more initiatives that we can sort of put in place for next year and how we were going to fund those, because obviously we were having our precept decisions and sort of budgeting conversations last night. And yeah, I think we'll be moving forward and supporting more of this kind of work, which seems to be what is needed in our communities. And I'm quite fortunate that our council recognises that, and that it's something that they really want to support and promote in partnership with other organisations. I think that is a key for us, in that we've got volunteers within these other organisations in our community that are doing really good work, and if we can combine with them, we can make it bigger and better. And those other organisations, the other volunteers, are really keen to do that as well. So we're really fortunate in that respect in our community.
Thanks, Vanessa. We see that, you know, lots of councils that we talk to, it's very apparent that like collaboration is like key to some of these initiatives. What advice have you got for maybe smaller councils who don't feel maybe as well networked in that sense? to finding the appropriate organisations and stakeholders to approach, to collaborate with, because I know it's quite tough, isn't it? You know, but you know, making those first steps and making those connections if they're not already in place.
Yeah, I agree. We were actually at a meeting the other evening with the local authority. They were doing, you know, they're sort of going around doing their budget talks and cuts and needing to talk to the councils. And some of our neighbouring councils, coastal communities that are very similar to what we are, that a lot smaller though, because you know we're sort of 1,200 households, so we're a relatively large community council compared to some of our neighbouring ones. And as a result of that, we sort of recognise that we've got same issues, same problems within our communities, but Aberporth is a little bit more capable of delivering things. So we're looking at actually doing like a coastal communities forums that we can all link together, so that we can actually support. So from Aberporth perspective, we can support some of the smaller ones, and we're bringing in our neighbouring town then, Cardigan, as well. We're going to sort of have talks moving forward for next year on how we can better collaborate and, you know, support initiatives, because for us they might as well travel from Tresaith or Llangrannog and come in and use our hub in Aberporth, because they haven't got those facilities. Doesn't mean that we can't encourage their residents to use those as well. And I think that's how we're going to try and develop and move things forward for our smaller councils. It's not an expectation for them to run it themselves, but maybe they can help contribute to us running a slightly larger facility.
Transport comes into play then as well, doesn't it? You know, so I know the work that we've done on this project, that transport remains a huge problem, especially in rural communities. So you know,
we're quite fortunate in that we have a Dolantavy bus located in our area. So we've got use of the Dolantavy bus, and we've got trained, you know, qualified Midas drivers and everything through that scheme. So we've got access to that whenever we need it.
Yeah, that's great. I think that makes a real difference. And yeah, the example of
it does
earlier, you know, bears that, in that their warm hub was their attendance improved no end once they could actually facilitate getting people to and from it. So that's great. What would you say in terms of have you encountered any barriers in setting this kind of initiative up? And if so, how do you advise people overcome them? Maybe you haven't. That's good.
Well, it's funny really, because it's quite apt in that obviously, whilst with the storm that we've had recently, we still have communities here that don't have any electric. So we'd opened we've opened up the village hall to all the communities. It's been open 8:30 till 9 p.m. at night, and we've had free food, you know, drinks, hot drinks and hot water for everybody, and it's been a real drop-in. And somebody, one of the volunteers that doesn't normally volunteer there but has come to volunteer, said that she said, I don't want to sound snobby or posh or anything about this. She said, it's just a way I want to put it over, is that I actually find being here this week has been quite humbling, because I hadn't appreciated how many families in the village are struggling, and the amount of poverty that is really hidden. And I pointed out to her that a lot of those people wouldn't normally attend, that they're only there because the electric's off, and that they're not normal people that we see week on week. So I think one of those barriers is getting that message out there, that it's open and welcome to everybody. It's not just for the elderly. It's not just for a certain element of our community, that it's for everyone, and that if they want to come with the children, they can, if they, you know, and that everyone's welcome, and it's that open space. I think that is the message, is the right way of selling it, how you encourage those people in. I think that's the biggest barrier, is getting them in through the door. Once they're in, and they can see what you're doing, that's great, but actually attracting them in through that front door.
That, and it's yeah, stigma is still such an enormous problem, isn't it? You know, with lots of this support, is that people who really need it don't want to access it for those reasons. So yeah, and I think again that comes back to, if you can make it less about the support and more about an activity, you know, then that goes some way to countering that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Andrea said sometimes calling it something other than a warm hug can remove the stigma. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. That's great. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks for stepping in as well. But yeah, lots of amazing things happening at Aberporth, and you took a real battering at the weekend from the storms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good that the community have got that resource to access. So yeah, brilliant. Does anyone have any questions for Vanessa, or generally for one another as a while you're here? I'd be interesting to know if there are council members attending that are currently involved in warm hubs in their communities, or thinking of implementing warm hubs and trying to understand how they might go about it. So if you have got any questions or want to make any comments, it'd be great to hear from you. Randall's got his hand up. Randall, you should be able to enable your own mic.
Thank you. Yeah, so as my question is for everybody out there, with us doing this as a town council, we're finding right now we've got the funding for the additional months ahead until March, but now we're coming to the fact of, where, are any other councils funding themselves, or are the councils looking at grant funding, things like that? If you could give me some information on that, that would be great. I will be throwing out for my town council, if we can implement another round of funding from local council for 25-26. But if there's any other resources available that anybody knows, if they could let me know, that'd be great.
Thanks, Randall. Have you benefited from the latest round of Warm Hub funding then? Did you make a successful application for that?
No, unfortunately, we didn't have. We were late on that. We were late to the game on that, so we didn't find out about the funding until, I believe, mid-October, early November, and I believe that the funding was already gone that round. We are looking at the next round, but we're, for somebody who's never done funding grant before, I'm looking at, how to make a strong case for it,
Yeah. Well, we as a team send out any funding information that we become aware of, which we share via email and also via the Facebook forum. So do make sure that you connect with us on that front. And then if anyone else has got any information or guidance that might help, Randall, drop it in the chat or get in touch with us, and we can pass it on.
Fantastic. My question would be then, what is the Facebook page?
Oh, so we have a One Voice Wales cost of living crisis forum. It's a bit of a mouthful, but we have it's a group, so a private group, so that we've established as a project to bring council members together. It's the idea is it's a forum for open discussion. Quite often what we find is that community and town councils have the answers to all the questions that there could be amongst themselves, but we offer that opportunity to enable the discussion between one another that you quite often don't have opportunity to have. We hear from clerks a lot that it can be quite an isolating role, and so it's providing that forum, providing that platform to say the cost of living issues, what's everybody doing, how did you overcome this, are you aware of that? So it's very much a platform for discussion and sharing of best practice and ideas. And so yeah, I think the link is in the chat, but we will send it out. It goes out at the bottom of all our emails as well. So We chose Facebook specifically because it's the most widely adopted platform, and I know not everybody is on there, but it does seem to be the one that sort of hits the most people. So that's why we went with that.
Thank you very much.
That's no problem. No problem.
Sorry, Emma, can I just add to that, Randall? Has Haverfordwest had a look at the Enhancing Pembrokeshire grant? There's the local authority fund. It's actually Enhancing Pembrokeshire, and part of that is to deliver appropriate provision of care and support, focusing on prevention and ensuring vulnerable people are safe. So it's funding from the actual impact of second homes. It's the money that they've raised from increasing the council tax, and then they're issuing it out as community grants.
Okay, I will definitely look into that. I know I've touched upon it with a member of PCC, but I really appreciate the information. You would know when the second round of that would be.
I think it's open all the time. I think it's always
Okay.
open. I don't think there is any rounds. I think you can just apply as and when.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That's okay. If you need the link or anything, just drop us a message and I can get that across to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Randall. Matthew, it's just got a question. Looks like one needs to join the Facebook group as a person and not as a community council page. I'm 95% sure you can join as a council page. You don't have to be a person. So if you're still having problems, I will make a note, Matthew, to get in touch and let you know how you can do it. So yeah, have another go, and then if you're having problems, get in touch and we'll find a way around that. I'll finish the session by thanking all our guest speakers for their input and insights today, and thank you for joining us. Hopefully the insights shared by our speakers and your contributions have highlighted the critical role that councils can play in addressing the growing challenge of fuel poverty. And certainly it feels like we're just at the beginning of it again for this winter, because even though we've had some cold weather, it's not really properly kicked in yet. So, you know, working together and leveraging resources that are already available, sharing best practice, will hopefully have a meaningful impact in our communities. So let's continue to sort of collaborate, work together and advocate for solutions that ensure every resident can afford to heat their home and live in comfort. And your commitment to this issue is really important. It's vital. So we look forward to seeing the continued difference that you're all making in your communities. Just a few final requests from me. When you leave the meeting today, there will be a feedback form. We can only make our events better, improve them if you tell us how you feel about them. So what works, what doesn't work, what you need, what you'd like more of. Are there any topics that you'd like us to cover? So it'd be really helpful for us if you would fill those in. And finally, I've mentioned our cost of living crisis Facebook forum. So if you aren't a member of that, we'd be delighted if you would join us there. There's an opportunity for us to, you know, share best practice, ask questions and get help and advice from one another. So that link has been popped in the chat. And thanks again for joining us today. This is the cost of living team's last webinar of the year, so we'll wish you a very happy Christmas and enjoy your rest and keep warm and safe. Thanks very much. Bye now.